everybody. This is Jamie Stillman with Team Stillman Mortgage. Thanks for joining us today. We have a really special guest in studio today, and that is Regina Harvey. I think you're going to love some of the stuff that she has done, is doing, and she just has a lot of stuff to talk about. I was actually describing her to somebody this morning, and I said, I don't know all of the details that go behind it and everything that she does, but she's one of the best humans that I know. So that's my best way to describe Regina. Thanks for being here.
Jamie, it's so good to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and chat.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what all you do, a little bit about you and family and career, all that fun stuff.
Okay, so we can start, and I think at all times where I start is with God,
Mhm.
in my faith, and just watching how He has moved in our family, in our ministry, and continues to move in the work that we're doing.
Mhm.
So, I guess the short story, maybe Ron and I met in college.
Okay.
So yes, dating myself. That's 40 years ago that we got married.
Wow. Okay.
After knowing each other for 2.5 years before that. So we have 3 children. 2 are
Mhm.
married. We have 4 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And we're in an interesting space in life
Mhm.
where a lot of us find ourselves. Our parents are living, and then we have children and grandchildren. So it's not even a sandwich generation. It's just
Yeah.
it's just family.
Wow.
Lots of family. So that's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And then about 20, I don't know, 1999,
Mhm.
we were kind of minding our own business and felt the Lord calling us to start a ministry
Mm.
around personal finance.
Okay.
And I remember clearly thinking, have you seen my checkbook? You can't possibly mean me. And there's a beautiful Bible verse that talks about comforting others
Uh-huh.
with the comfort that we've received. And so when you do that, you have the opportunity to say, I don't have it figured out,
Mm.
which makes me uniquely able to come alongside you as you figure it out. So working with personal finance,
Mhm.
doing, and how we know each other is
Yeah.
doing a lot of home buyer education, a lot
Yeah.
of helping people achieve this elusive dream. And so over the 20 plus years, it's been everything from the foreclosure crisis
Yeah.
and the credit crunch and the cost of housing. Then was housing available?
Yeah.
Were there just enough houses?
I think, and now we're in this big affordability. It
Exactly.
is the tough thing out there right now.
Exactly. So I'm always appreciative of the tools that you have to make it, achievable,
Mhm.
but is it also going to be sustainable?
Yeah.
So that is, where I appreciate what you bring to the table and can help folks with. And so helping them figure out, okay, how do I navigate
Yeah.
in this world where prices are going up and rates are where they are?
Mm-hmm.
They've been there before.
Oh, yeah.
When
Oh,
we
yeah.
bought our first house, the going rate was started with a 1,
Yeah.
but didn't end in a 1. It
It's hard to
ended in a
believe, isn't it?
3. Yeah, it's like 13% was, oh, okay.
Yeah.
House cost $80,000, so it's a little different.
Yeah. The
A little
prices have
different.
gone up slightly.
Just a little, just a little. But the desires of folks to have a place where they can raise their families is
Yeah.
still the same.
Oh, absolutely.
And so helping them figure out, how do I navigate? How do I still work on my credit, work on my
Mhm.
budget, limit debt? Just thinking I am forevermore going to say that in terms of debt, car payments should be $99 a month.
Yeah.
Now, when I declared that, they weren't quite that then, but they were
Yeah.
$150.
I'm sure.
But now it's like, oh, that's your mortgage payment. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no, that's my car payment. So
I literally had this conversation yesterday with somebody. I was like, somebody about my age with
Mhm.
kids, grandkids. And I was like, I remember thinking a $300 or $400 car payment was like, oh, and then I started seeing the norm go to $600-$700.
yes.
And kind of like, wow, car payments are getting really high. Now it's nothing for me to pull a credit report and there'd be a couple car payments on there for $1,200 a month.
That's the thing. Why
And
are
I
there
stopped.
2? You're absolutely right.
And I'm like, this can't be right.
Mm.
or what are you driving? And everybody has their own life, their own budget, what they're doing. But those car payments to me just stop me and go, whoa, I can't imagine having a car payment that's above $1,000 a month.
It is amazing. It
Yeah,
is amazing. And it isn't always, you're right. We all have our own interests and priorities and things
sure.
that we value. Sure. I mean, all of us are that way. Um, but it's also not the most expensive car on the block
Right,
either.
right.
So that's the other part that's just interestingly
Yeah,
challenging for folks.
it really is. So the business that you started,
Hmm.
what is it? I know we know each other because, like you said, I send a lot of people to you guys to do home counseling
Hmm.
or first time home buyer programs,
Yes.
and which I get not only because you're awesome, but we get you guys are the only people I've ever worked with that we get feedback from.
Oh,
Prior
that's
to that,
encouraging.
or people that used other companies online or different anything, they would always just go, "Yeah, it's done." But I have people that stop and go, "I'm actually glad I did that. I
Good.
actually talked about this. I actually got to talk to them about." So that's what's been so great over the years is people really feel like they get something out of it instead of just checking that box.
Hmm.
Because I think that's the whole concept behind requiring the home buyer education for the times that it is required.
Yes.
Is somebody thought originally it would be good for people to take a step back and go, okay, let's talk about budgeting, talk about all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I think it's wonderful, but we get good feedback from y'all.
Well, I'm excited. We are always happy to run through the again, like you said, there's a checklist, there's
Yeah.
things that you're supposed to talk about. And it's really encouraging when it's like, oh yes, we did have this experience.
Mhm.
And I in my heart know, of course you were discussing options.
Yeah.
Of course you were discussing loan products that are good for you and help you meet your goals. And so I think the integrity that we need to keep in the business and in the industry is going to be really important
Yeah.
because we don't want another foreclosure crisis.
Right.
We don't want another situation where people just are unable to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
The stress that's involved in that is
Yeah.
really just a little bit overwhelming. So yes, Dominion Financial Management is
Mm-hmm.
the nonprofit that we started in 1999, and so we have been incredibly blessed to be able to do that work and meet
Yeah.
tons of people on their journey wherever they are
Yeah. And
toward whatever their goal.
y'all do a lot more than just home counseling as well.
We do.
So tell us a little bit about what else.
So, because we're a Christian ministry, we are open to the just everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and we have talked for a long time about if you want the Christian side of what it is that we do, come. So one of my favorite classes, again, Ron and I've been married 40 years,
Yeah.
but we teach a Bible-based money management
Oh,
class.
okay.
So it's money and marriage. And so I'll sneak peek, one of the topics that I really enjoy is talking about a trust account
Mm-hmm.
and so that's not a unique concept, but in the biblical world, in the thought of covenant marriage, couples that are committed to one another,
Mm-hmm.
do we hide finances, right? Are we ashamed maybe of bad spending decisions that we've made,
Gotcha.
or do we have a credit past
Mm-hmm.
that we bring into the marriage? So those things, and then are we currently making choices that build our trust account? So I'm being transparent with my spouse about
Mm-hmm.
my spending. I am not spending money behind my spouse's back, because that makes withdrawals from the trust account, and it's hard when your trust account's overdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
You have to rebuild it, but it can be.
Yeah.
And so walking with couples, that has been a real blessing.
That's really cool.
It is. And it's a great need. And so that's one of the things that we do. Also just financial counseling
Mm-hmm.
independent of home ownership.
Okay.
So some folks, just want to, for other reasons, pay
Mm-hmm.
down debt.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're looking to be able to start a business one day and need to get their finances in order to
Sure.
do that. And sometimes, kind of like me when I started, budget? What?
Yeah.
What is
What's
that?
that?
Yeah, that sounds like a bad thing that someone invented to stop me from having fun.
Especially when you're young. It's like, that sounds
Exactly.
like somebody's going to tell me what to do with my money.
Hmm.
Why would I need? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so when you lean into the Christian side of it, what does the Bible have to say about
Mhm.
money? One of the first verses we always talk about is the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And so thinking about, what do you mean it's not my money?
Yeah.
And I do it all the time. I've been doing this for so long, I still catch myself. It's like, whoa, what am I going to do with my money? I have a little bit extra money. It's like, what am I getting? Oh,
Oh
not
yeah.
mine, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really does not belong to me. And
Hmm.
so, how can I be a good steward
Yeah. Yeah.
of what's entrusted to me? And how can I use it as a tool that is helpful to the kingdom of God? And so
Amen.
sometimes that involves giving. You
Hmm.
know, you are incredibly generous in the things that you do and how you serve people and how just the things that you do that are so impactful for our community. So, how do we continue to do that
Yeah.
even in our money?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
is a cool thing to be involved in.
Me and Stacy, my wife, spent a whole lot of time talking about that. Just different, you know, biblical and philosophical things that we talk about, and
Hmm.
coming back to like we've had, like if we have a pretty good year in the business or whatever, and we start
Hmm.
talking about like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, and we always are like, real cognizant of it. Not it's a good or bad thing, but it can be gone tomorrow.
Yes.
So there's no reason to say like I'm going to do this with my. It's much more about feeling like what is the right thing to do.
Hmm.
We should pray
Absolutely.
about it and figure out where we're led instead of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And so,
Hmm.
and I Stacy's so much further along in her walk than I am in some senses. Because one of the biggest things I try to hold on to everything,
Hmm.
not talking about physical things now, but like just giving it to God, letting it. I try to control so much, and I
We
think
all do.
I know you know what I mean. I know you know what I need to do, God,
Hmm.
but just I think I know I can do it. Like just can your plan be my plan? Because I think I've got it figured out. I know what I need to do. Right, right. Let me have this, and I think everything will be okay.
Uh-huh.
So I have to take a step back sometimes and go, like you said, not mine, not my
Yes.
plan. Doesn't
Yes.
matter. The best laid plans, it just depends on where you're supposed to be.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And you're not alone. If we're all honest,
yeah,
we all, and the beauty of journey is that it doesn't matter who's ahead, who's behind, who's side by side. It's like we're all moving.
yeah.
I had an opportunity to speak to a group 2 weeks ago,
Okay,
and I talked about 2,556, I think is the number.
okay.
And it was like, what is that? And it's like, it's the number of miles on I-40
Mm,
from North Carolina to California. And so if you get on I-40
yeah.
in California or in North Carolina, you will eventually get to the other coast.
Wow. Okay.
But the idea is stay on I-40.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you might get off. So if you're in Nashville, you
Hmm.
might get off I-40 and, travel,
Yeah.
dabble a little bit. But then when you come to your senses, if
Get
if
back on.
California is your goal, get back on.
Yeah.
And so I think that's true in a lot of things. It's
Yeah.
true in our finances. We get to places not overnight.
Hmm.
And so, but when we chart a path, if we can stay on it,
Yeah.
we can really get there.
That's a
So
great way to look at
I
it.
think it's that way in our faith too. God is showing us and asking us in ever increasing measure to
Hmm.
respond and grow and be more like Jesus.
Amen. So, what else do y'all have coming up with Dominion Financial besides what you keep doing? Is there any big things on the horizon, or maybe even just thoughts that might, paths you might go down, that kind of stuff?
There is. So we are in January, well, in 26, we are launching a new um ministry, if you
Mhm.
will, within Dominion. So I keep teasing, Dominion 2.0. It's like the remix. Here we
Gotcha.
go. Here we go. But it's called Faithful Finances. So
Okay.
it's faith hyphen full, Full, finances. And if you think about the space where three different things overlap.
Hmm.
Okay, that's our sweet spot. So there is this world of financial coaching and financial counseling.
Hmm.
There is Christian counseling
Hmm.
and coaching. And so I'm currently in school. I'm graduating in May with my master's. So for that, but then there's also mental health counseling
Hmm.
because I think we mentioned just a little bit ago that there's this idea of stress, there's shame,
Hmm.
there is also a world that is telling us how we should feel about our money. What should we
Yeah,
do with our money? How do we appear successful with our money?
so much. I was even going to talk about a minute ago. I was thinking in my head, educating people and getting information out there. We've almost gone to where it was hard to get information, to where
Hmm.
now we have with AI and all this stuff's out there. You're just inundated with
Hmm.
real stuff, fake stuff.
Yes.
Everyone telling, young people, old people, this is what you need to do, this is what you
Hmm.
should do. And you don't know. I mean, now we're getting bombarded with more information than I ever had when I was at their age.
Absolutely.
So it's the information is, yeah, can lead to everything, can
Hmm.
lead to stress, can lead to mental just, and like you said, embarrassment. How do
Yes.
you, because they are living like this, they're
Hmm.
they're telling me to do this, but I don't. Yeah, I can see that
Very,
being a
very
real
true.
problem.
It can, well, it is. It's not, it
Yeah.
can be. It really is a problem. And I feel like um people also, and even in the body of Christ, I think it's why we're told not to judge and not
Hmm.
to, look in a certain way on our brother or our sister, because there's a lot of criticism from the perspective of, I can't believe you don't know that.
Mm.
I can't believe you don't know how to do that. I can't believe you did that dumb thing. And it's like, no, we make mistakes, and
Yeah.
sometimes we have. So it's part of me,
Hmm.
to want to care for and help and encourage and support as that person finds I-40 for them
Yeah.
and takes that journey and begins to move. And to know that if they belong to God, He cares and He will
Hmm.
help them, even with the finances.
Yeah.
But that if they are also struggling with any mental health part of it, and some things show up in our finances that are our mental health types of issues.
Gotcha.
So if someone is, dealing with depression, so I'm not a counselor or a
Hmm.
therapist, but just being aware that sometimes when we're experiencing pain in one area, we will medicate in ways that impact our finances.
Sure. Sure.
So being able to be aware of that, and again, coming alongside folks to help them pray, and again, find I-40
Yeah.
so they can either get back on path or get on it for the first time.
Wow. That's cool. That's going to be
So
pretty impactful.
I'm expecting it to be. I don't have all
Yeah.
the details of what it looks like,
Sure.
but I'm excited about where it's headed.
Hmm.
And I think what is most exciting about it is, because we feel so confident that it's God's call to do this, that means He already has seen who it is who needs it.
Hmm.
I may not know, you may not know who it is right at this moment, but there is someone that God is saying, get ready because I'm going to send them your way
Wow.
and they're going to need your help. So I'm
That's
really
beautiful.
excited to see where it goes.
You got to be, because it's gonna be great. It really is. So I feel like I have to talk a little bit about how much you like being a grandparent and a parent. Not to get off of the business stuff, but
Absolutely.
what's your favorite thing about having grandkids? Because I think you had one pretty recently, and then you
Yep.
got four total.
Yep. So we have four total. One very recently, this week, in fact.
Yeah.
And then first little girl
Hmm.
is 4 months old, and then the new baby is just a little bit old,
Yeah.
and then we have two boys who are 4 and 2.
Wow. Okay.
So very fun. So
Yeah.
kindergarten's coming up.
Yeah.
What is the most fun?
Because my answer to that's always everything. So
That's what I'm thinking. There's no
so
one
it's just
thing. There's
it's
no
so
one thing.
fun.
But probably the best thing, I had an opportunity to spend the morning and then part of the day with the kids yesterday. And so to hear little feet,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
getting up, and then at the top of the stairs I hear Jeannie. And it's like, yes, baby, my Jeannie's here.
Hmm.
So to hear a little voice
Oh yeah.
that's calling my name, and then to get the hugs and the all the things
Yeah.
is really, really fun. And then to watch our children
Hmm.
with children
Yeah.
has been fun. Has been fun. Now, Jamie, I do have one rule though
Okay.
that is so atypical, I think, for grandparents.
Uh-huh.
Um, I tell them all the time, I said, I love you little babies. I love you little grandchildren. I said, but I want to remind you of one thing.
Uh-huh.
Your dad, that guy right there, that's my baby,
Mm-hmm.
and I love him too. So I need you to stop terrorizing my son. Like, I love you, but
Yeah.
there's some boundaries
Yeah.
around. And they're like, huh? It's like, and so now they know,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's dad's mom.
Yeah.
And so that's fun watching them begin to understand that
I bet.
dynamic of who we are. But yeah, I tease them all the time.
Yeah.
I figure if I keep telling them, then when they're,
Yeah, it'll start
wanting to be in high school and wanting to be, it's like, I thought I warned you already.
Yeah, that's a great rule. Yeah, I mean, we've had little conversations here and there, especially with the 8-year-old
Yes.
granddaughter. But
Yes.
that's a great thing, because the other two are 18 months and 2 months, so they're
Mhm.
a little. I really like that. That's a cool rule.
I'm enjoying it. So it says to all of the children who think grandparents lose their minds, we don't.
Yeah,
We don't. We still just want to do all that we can to support
yeah,
kids raising kids.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's tough.
Oh yeah.
The things that they're facing. No, there's nothing new under the sun,
Mm-hmm.
but the things that they're facing and the ways that they can have access to information is really different.
Very.
We did not have, I can't even remember what the first computer game was.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
nothing like what's out there now.
Oh no.
And, the phone was, I thought we were fancy when we finally had the trimline phone.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, I can actually, pick it up.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I think we had computers one of the first years I was in middle school.
Okay.
And we had like a computer room where I think they had 2 computers.
Sounds right.
That everybody kind of rotated in, and Oregon Trail is coming to my mind.
I do remember that.
So yeah. So I mean, and now I think part of your school supply list is to get an iPad and stuff in middle school and high school. So I mean, it's much more different how people receive information, but
very much so.
But when you're talking about favorite part of grandkids, I was just thinking, the little one that's 18 months now, they were here for Thanksgiving.
Oh, how fun.
And like my favorite thing in the world was the first day that they were here when I was at work. I came home from work, and she came just running to me and wanted me to pick her up, and I was just like, it's all awesome, but like,
yes,
those little moments are just like, oh, this is this is being a grandparent.
This is it.
It's so much fun.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
And y'all are all here locally, right? So you get to see family, parents
which
too.
is nice. Parents too.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Siblings, nieces and nephews. So there's cousins, and everybody is right here.
Yeah.
I will shout out to my mom, because we used to live all over the country, all of us. And she started praying, I don't even know how many years ago, but she tells the story that she prayed that all of her children would live within 30 minutes of her. And so little by little, it's kind of like, oh, we're relocating to here. Oh, we're going to be here. And so, for right now, in this moment, in this season, we all live within 30 minutes of each other.
That's incredible.
It is. It is.
For somebody who has most everybody local except a few. So yeah, it's we even had a discussion at Thanksgiving. We ran the idea past our kids. We were like, have you ever thought about a family compound? Buy land and everybody kind of build homes. And we talked about that years ago when they were just getting to their 20s, and like, oh, y'all are crazy. There's a whole world out there, But then a couple of them this Thanksgiving were like, that idea doesn't sound too bad.
It doesn't sound. Cool. Yeah, it doesn't sound as strange as it once did. Just thinking, I have one sister that talks about it, especially as we're getting older, and you do have those questions about, what does long-term care look like?
Sure.
What does it look like before you need long-term care, right? Before, just, do you need somebody nearby that can just check on you? And I do think that we have a lot we can learn from other cultures. So that's a fun part of clients that we see that don't look like us, don't talk like us, but have, they're created in God's image and have incredible ways of talking about how family, living generationally, whether it's in the same house or in a compound. I have one client that I talked to, they live in multi-generations, but it's in levels. So of course it's not in the US, but mom and dad, the original home was one floor, and they have land, but you can also build up. So
Hmm.
maybe the son and his family live, one floor up.
Yeah,
And so, but it's just, it's neat. And I think we will maybe see more of that.
I think so. Because like you said, I run into so many different people, and it's cool to hear stories and
Hmm.
culturally how they do things. My barber, for example, he's from Jordan,
Okay.
and most of his family, brothers, everybody here, and we always talk about it because now they're building. Him and his wife are building their home on the property, but
Wow.
they're kind of close by.
Wow.
And the first house, that they built, one of the sons lives there now, and mom and dad are moving. So they're kind of, as life happens, they have a different plans of how everybody's going to be together.
It's neat.
Grandkids kind of just get to, walk over or see grandma and grandpa, and
Hmm.
everybody's there. And it's kind of talking to him is what first made me think. I was like, man, that would be really neat, and
It
it's just,
would be.
and there's a lot to it culturally of how they have done that for
Hmm.
multiple generations, and it's kind of neat to think that is, and the forethought of like you're talking about, because
Yes.
a lot of people get to a situation where there's long-term care and nobody's talked about it, because again, it's another
Hmm.
thing of, we don't always have good plans in place. So we're, living today just trying to get by, and then that
Hmm.
that comes up, and it's like, I talk to people all the time like, oh, we had no idea what it costs,
No. Hmm.
or we had no idea how we can manage to do it ourselves, because we both
Yes.
work, and who can stay home and who can check on. And
Hmm.
so there's a whole different set of expectations and need
Hmm.
that's out there for somebody in that situation. So thinking about it beforehand is just like so many things in life. I think that's why what y'all do is so important. So I'm sure you meet people wherever they are. So if it's
Yes.
crisis, that's
Hmm.
one kind of counseling.
Yes,
But if
for
it's
sure.
just we're trying to do the right thing with our money, our
Hmm.
hearts, our
Yes.
everything, I think that's vitally necessary out there as
It,
well.
it is. It is. So we're very, very excited, and I think, we'll continue to see as we all go through this journey, we'll
Mhm.
continue to see other needs that people are facing,
Yeah.
places where we haven't been before.
Hmm.
Um, and and when you were talking about just sources of information, how many times do you hear, especially about, generational wealth,
Yeah.
and how do I protect? And it's like, did you talk to an attorney about that? Oh, I got it from TikTok.
Yeah.
Nothing, no shot, no shame in
None.
TikTok, right? But is it a valid
Hmm.
method?
Yeah.
Is it going to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah.
And so, especially with homeownership, talking to, those same kids about wills
Yeah.
and plans,
All the different layers are so
and they're not
important.
thinking about it. It's like, I have a 2-month old,
Yeah.
right? I have an
Yeah.
18. It's just like, I'm trying to get to, can we potty train? Can we sleep through the
Yes.
night? Can we, use a spoon and a fork and get rid of, finger foods?
Few things on our mind.
Just a few
Yes.
things, but the other things, and then they slip up
Yeah.
on you, and
Yeah.
you realize like, oh,
Yeah.
and then, college expenses.
All of
And
that.
so I think for anyone, if there's ever a message, I think, you know, how can we find truth, and how can we find actual facts? This is so off topic, but it's one of my favorite things, and I won't even quote it right. But I was looking for the quote, because in, maybe it's Inside Out,
Hmm.
she spills,
Oh yeah.
rather, tiles,
Hmm.
and she says, "Oh, the opinions and the facts, they look so similar." I can't. It's hard to
So
tell them
true.
apart, but it's
Yep.
so
That
true.
is.
And so, what is an opinion? I love that we all have opinions. We can
Hmm.
have great conversation, but where are the facts,
Yeah.
and how do we separate them?
That's
And for
perfect.
numbers, it's the thing I like about numbers. They're true.
Yeah.
1 plus 1, even though there's a debate
Yeah.
on
I
TikTok,
know.
I think it is,
Yeah.
but 1 plus 1 is
But
always
that's
going
so
to
true.
be 2.
Hmm.
And so, what are the facts about using our home?
Yeah.
And how do we do that? And
Makes
do
so
we
much
want
sense.
to leave it for
Yeah.
future generations? And how can we make that happen,
Yeah.
even in 2025, about to be 2026?
You're right. You're right. That's a perfect thought to wrap it up. So thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
if y'all need anything, please reach out to Regina. You can find Dominion Financial online. They do a lot of great stuff. So she's a huge resource for so many things, homeownership stuff, counseling, like she talked about, and there's more stuff on the horizon. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.